Well, welcome back, everyone, to the ninth floor, to the show we've dubbed the Live Show from the ninth floor. Paul McNamara for My Hockey Live and the NFHS, and joined now by Jim Clark, a name and a face familiar to all high school hockey fans in the area. And Clarky, this is like, it's not New Year's Day, but it's a big celebration day for all fans of high school hockey, and especially in your line of work, it's the culmination of a season.
Yeah, you can't really call it New Year's Day because it's the end of the road, so right. I don't know, what would be appropriate. Yeah, but it's always a fun day, but it's a tough day because it's been such a long grind for the season. It doesn't even really start on the Monday after November. There's just so much preparation that goes into getting ready for the season, and it seems like it flies by. It's hard to believe it's been 3 or 4 months already, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being back here and seeing everyone and seeing all the great teams. But it's a little tough when it finally ends.
Yeah, it is. And this year is. We talked about it. It'll never be as much to talk about it, but we were just speaking about it. Very nice tribute to your pal Bruce Lurch, who passed away over the winter, and he was such a fan of girls high school sports and girls hockey. And they did a very nice tribute to Bruce before the first 2 girls games today. They had his picture up and gave some background to the people that might not have known him or his work, and had a moment of silence. And it was very touching 2 moments here.
Right. I mean, you don't necessarily play favorites, but I know that Austin Prep has been, very, very big fans of Bruce over the years, and they did a lot of stuff with tributes to him. I know their Twitter account used to have the BL27 hashtag on it, and we did a profile of Katie Flagg in the Herald back in January, and she had the BL27 on the knob of her goalie stick. And I know Katie was very fond of Bruce. They were very friendly with each other. So you like to say maybe Bruce was kind of looking down and smiling when he saw Austin Prep win that game today. No disrespect meant to Arlington Catholic, because they obviously had a great season and beat Austin both times during the regular season. But things like that make you wonder a little bit.
Well, and to have those 2 teams so close, AC beats them twice in the regular season. AP comes back and wins the title 1-0. Yeah. 2 teams known for their defense. Katie Flagg, the #1 star in the game, and both teams end up 22-2 or 21-2-1, I think. Exactly the same records. Right. It's so hard to choose, and Bruce would have loved a day like today with those 2 teams.
I actually had Austin Prep as my #1 team entering the season, mainly because you knew Flagg was coming back. They had the standout defenseman, Jamie Cook, and you just knew that these were going to be 2 teams that were just going to play it so tight to the vest, and it was just going to unfold exactly the way it did. Nobody was going to give an inch the whole season. Arlington Catholic had given up 12 goals entering the game. They only gave up 1 today. It turns out that was all that really mattered. Austin winds up giving up 18 goals on the season, 6 of them in their 2 losses to Arlington Catholic.
It's ridiculous.
So you just knew it was going to be a 1-2 either way.
Right.
And, you just kind of roll the dice and you say, okay, what do you think? And I kind of lean with Austin Prep. And, I got a little bit of flack for it, early in the season as AC was playing well. But it's just one of those cases where these 2 teams could play 100 times and it might come out 50-50, 51-49. You just don't know. AC got them twice during the season. Austin got them on the big stage, and congrats to them. They could come back out here again tonight and play again, and AC could win again. 1-0. You just, it's just one of those things.
And it was fun hockey. It could have gone either way, all the way down to the end. And God forbid if they'd have tied it up, they might still be playing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, the way that, who was going to score a second goal on either of those 2 goalies or those defenses,
So we went from that one, and again, a tribute to Bruce in memory, winking. And, then the next game is Wellesley here for the 3rd straight year.
Yep.
And the 3rd straight year they come in as bridesmaids, or they come out as bridesmaids. This time Notre Dame Academy of Hingham getting the job done, and what a well-coached team and a fun team to watch they are.
Right. I mean, you kind of knew that, and you got a hockey guy like Jean-Yves Roy, who was such a legend at the University of Maine. Had a cup of coffee for the Bruins for a couple of years, and You know, it doesn't hurt when your youngest daughter, I shouldn't say youngest daughter, your daughter is your 8th grade star, Gabby Roy, and she was just phenomenal. I only saw them play a couple times this year, but she is just tremendous. And Notre Dame is a program that's kind of been on the rise for a few years, so you know they just kind of need that little bit of a push over the edge. But yeah, you feel bad for George Campbell and Wellesley because you know how many times can you come here and be the bridesmaid 3 years in a row? I know they have won one state title back in, I believe it was 2006. I looked it up earlier today. You know, it's such a wonderful thing to even get to the Garden, but you know, eventually you want to win one, and you know. But just a tremendous program. You know, they do such a great job out of the Bay State Conference, and you know, very talented team, can score. You know, play defense. You know, 2 excellent goalies that he rotated throughout the season, and you know, hats off to them as well because they certainly had a great year too.
Yep, and wouldn't be surprised to see them back here next year.
And people forget Notre Dame. Their 4 losses this year were 2 to Arlington Catholic and 2 to Austin Prep. So
yeah, and they tied Duxbury.
Legitimately, probably the 3rd best team in the state this year. It's just, you know, should they be in Division II? Who knows? But I mean, that's just the way it was.
Well, like Duxbury a few years ago moved up. Maybe they'll be moving up too. And you know, from the coach's perspective, it's not a bad thing because then you're going to attract other kids and play the best teams in the state.
Yep.
So the girls teams, the girls games were terrific. 4 great teams, and then we moved on to Hanover, and that really didn't surprise a lot of people in this building. I hadn't seen Hanover play, but I knew their reputation this year, and Algonquin coming out of the West obviously had to be a decent team to get here, but Hanover was much the best in that one.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of anticipating maybe a rematch of the 2014 when it was Hanover and Shrewsbury.
Right.
Shrewsbury was kind of the team everyone was keeping an eye on out of the Central Mass this year. Algonquin upset them in the semifinals in a shootout, and then Algonquin went on won another shootout against Groton Dunstable in the Central Final, then beat Westfield, who, you know, is a very familiar team coming here to the Garden on a regular basis. You know, so hats off to Algonquin. Yeah, I got to throw a little bit of a shout out because their coach is a kid by the name of Andy McGowan. I had Andy's father, Bob, as a history teacher at Oakmont Regional. He grew up in my hometown, so I know the family. So it was kind of neat for me to see them there today. But you know, such a great program that Hanover has done there. Johnny Yavin has done such a great job, you know, making hits to the Garden twice in 3 years, and so not a surprise. They were clearly the better team all year. You know, they got a nice little addition, some nice general manager work when Brett Parker and Nick Joy came back from juniors before the season, and you don't see a lot of those. You don't see a lot of those stories, so you kind of have to highlight them a little bit when they do happen. When the kids actually do come back and play, you know, from what I understand, they kind of, you know, missed the opportunity to play with their buddies, maybe having to sit in the stands and watch that game here 2 years ago when Hanover lost to Shrewsbury and wondering what if. So, you know, good for them to come back and be a part of it and help lead
and have a happy
Hanover to this. And you know, and Brett Parker has a goal and an assist today, and Nick Joy winds up with the 150-foot empty net goal at the end of the game. So you know, both had a great hand in that win. So you know, congratulations to Hanover as well.
Yeah, well, and congratulations is right, and they were again. We talked earlier, talking with Phil Garceau, saying, yeah, Hanover was a 5 seed, and he kind of went, they're not really a 5 seed. So
well, you're playing. I mean, you're looking. They play in a league with Duxbury, Division I program. You know, several Division II teams, North Quincy, Pembroke, and had very good success against those. I'm pretty sure they beat Duxbury during the regular season, and so you know, certainly, you know, maybe D3 in name only. You know, just a great program.
And then we just saw a terrific game right now between that just concluded right now between Medfield and Lincoln Sudbury, and really that one could have gone either way. I mean. Medfield played very well and had some chances, and the Lincoln Sudbury goaltender played well. And then they get 2 goals that were both kind of not ones you draw up on the board.
Right.
And they go ahead 3-1, and then maybe the most exciting player here today, Eric Holden, had 2 or 3 or 4 chances where he set up plays and shoot, and just maybe wasn't their day at the end of it.
Holden was terrific. He had a phenomenal shift on that one goal he did score. He had 2 great chances. I remember he had one coming down the wing that he shot over the net, then he tried to wrap around, and then it was on the 3rd one where he started coming down the slot. 2 guys converged on him. He lost the puck, and it slid right to I think it was Reinhold who scored the goal for LS, and they tie the game.
Holden gets an excuse me assist.
And then, like you said, a broken play in Medfield. It was kind of a broken 2-on-1, if I remember correctly. Kessler actually, what probably looked like it could have been an icing, he actually wound up playing the puck, tried to catch him in a line change, and then it was kind of a bad turnover there. And then it winds up a little bit of a broken play, and the puck winds up deflecting in right before the end of the second period. But you knew that was going to be a tight played game. You know, both teams, very good defense, very good goaltending. You knew a Hal Gill coach team was going to focus on the defensive end of the ice, but you know, it was exciting. And the one memory I do have is Medfield being here 2 years ago when they lost to Beverly, and they played the last game of the night, and so the Garden was completely empty. And I remember Medfield kids coming back out and sitting on the bench for 15, 20 minutes after it was over, still in uniform, just in disbelief. And I don't know if a lot of those kids were seniors back then, or whether some of those were kids like McLean and Trieber.
Trieber's brother was a senior,
Trieber's brother. But the kids that I have them picturing in my mind, so I'm really happy for them, the ones that were on the team 2 years ago, to have the chance to come back here and kind of get a little bit of revenge. Not so much revenge, but you know, finally get the second chance and to make it pay off.
It's a great story.
It is a great story, yeah.
And by the way, that Beverly team was loaded. I mean, they were like the team of destiny, too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just one of those things.
It was a great game.
You pour your heart out into it, and you wind up losing a 2-1 game, and it's just the end of the road. And it was just one of those things where there was no game after that one. It was the last game of the night, so the building was completely empty. We were still up here packing up our stuff, and they wouldn't leave the bench. They were just crushed.
Yeah, I remember that, too.
You hate seeing that side of high school sports, because that is the side of it that kind of gets overlooked a lot. Is there is a losing side, and it's heartbreaking. And I remember tweeting out that night, and I got a lot of retweets about that and a lot of thanks about it, because I mean, it kind of gets a little bit overlooked in the aftermath of celebrating the champion. That there is another side to the story. So good for Medfield to be able to come back and take advantage of that second opportunity. And hopefully, you know, Hal and Lincoln Sudbury will get that chance again down there. I know they had some tremendous seniors on this team, but that's a really good program. You know, Hal did a great job in his first year. Tom Pear, who was the coach there the last couple of years, obviously did a really good job building that program up, and Hal was his assistant last year. So they've got a good thing going over there.
Yeah, and they play a good schedule, you know, on purpose. But, you know, I'd put a bet on Hal Gill getting back here if he could get another year for Eric Holden and Miles Cohen and Aiden Marin. Those three just seniors who did a great job.
And a neat little story here with Hal and with Jean-Yves Roy earlier. I was trying to remember anyone who would ever coached and played in the Garden. And the only two I could remember would have been Brian Schumann, who would have coached Canton and played for Catholic Memorial, and Kurt Colarulo last year for Concord Carlisle, played on Arlington Catholic's Super 8 championship team in 1997. So I was trying to rack my brain to think if there was anyone else that might have ever had the opportunity to play and coach in this building.
That's a good one.
In the 20 years that it's been open. And Hal and Jean-Yves Roy will be able to both do it today. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So 4 down, 2 to go.
Yep.
Let's take just a quick peek at the next two. We've got St. Mary's, Lynn, and Franklin coming up. Franklin, who lost 35 of 40 seniors last year.
They do it every year, don't they?
And yet they're back. And they were a Super 8 team last year. They're the D1 South champs this year in what might be the most competitive tournament going.
Yep.
And St. Mary's, Lynn, who, you know, some people thought they got shunned a little bit, but really one game kind of turned around their unofficial eligibility for the Super 8. The last game of the year when they lost to Hingham by, you know, a 5-1 score. But here they are. They've made their way all the way through the North, and they're back here.
And you just never know. You go through it every year with those teams that think that they should have been in the Super 8, and they wind up not going, and you just don't know what mindset they're going to carry. It's like the teams that don't get selected for the NCAA tournament and wind up going to the NIT. And then they lose in the first round, and people's like, well, they don't deserve to be there. And it's like you can't really say, because you just don't know what the mentality is. And some teams, you know, put a chip on their shoulder and they use it as inspiration. It obviously happened with Hingham, like you said, last year. And, you know, good for Mark Lee and St. Mary's this year. You know, that's an impressive story, because when I first started covering hockey back in the 90s, a small Division III Catholic school up in Lynn, you know, made a couple of Eastern Mass finals. I don't think they ever made it a state final in Division III. I think they made one Division II state final back in 2002 and lost to Martha's Vineyard, I believe. But, you know, Mark's kind of stayed the course and really gradually built that program. They made the Super 8 a couple of times, and you know, didn't quite get that far this year, but a great consolation prize to be able to make it to the Division I state final. You know, they have the Catholic Central League MVP and Dante Mirabito, and some really good, talented players around them. You know, they played a tough schedule. They, you know, shared the Catholic Central title with Austin Prep. So you know they're battle tested.
Right.
You know they have the talent. And like you said with Franklin, I don't know how Chris Spillane does it every year. He keeps saying, you know, well, there goes another 20 seniors out the door. Eventually it's going to catch up to them, and it just never does. I don't know, you know, 3 years in a row as a Division II team here at the Garden. Okay, and then they move them up to Division I, and you're like, all right, there's the end of the road for Franklin. Oh, Super 8 last year. Somehow they get through Division I South this year. Things open up a little bit when Newton North knocked off Braintree in the quarterfinals.
Right,
And you need a little bit of luck like that along the way. You know,
Sure.
some good teams on the other side of the bracket. But you know, but they took care of business. They had to beat a pretty good Archbishop Williams team. Actually, I think they beat Wellesley or Walpole in the quarterfinals. You know, then they knock off Newton North, who was very good in their own right in the semifinals. And then you know, Marshfield. People kind of penciled Marshfield in after
Good
after
team,
they
well
made it through.
coached.
And you know, Franklin took care of them in a pretty tight game down at Gallo last Sunday. And you know they're going to be a lunch pail team. They don't have any stars. They very rarely have any stars. You know they're going to be a very tight defensive team. They're going to have solid goaltending. They got another good one in Nick Jasinski, and I think they had 10 kids between 12 and 19 points on the score sheet.
Right.
So
Spread out
who
a
do you
lot.
key on? You
Yeah.
know, they're going to roll 3 or 4 lines at you, and they're just going to keep coming in waves, and you know they're all going to look the same. And you know, good luck trying to stop them. So this is going to be another fun one. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what happens in this one.
Well, this could go either way, I think. And then in the nightcap, it's a rematch. Malden Catholic and St. John's Prep, they know each other a little bit.
Yep.
And they've played, the last 3 times they played, they each scored 4 goals total.
Yep.
So, you know, something's got to give. And,
Right.
you know, and no surprise if that one goes into overtime. Malden Catholic tied BC High twice this
Yep.
year, tied St. John's once, and won by a goal. So.
Yep. I mean, if it's possible for 2 teams to have a chip on their shoulder going into a game, I think it'll happen in that one. Because, I mean, with MC, it's obvious. MC had the chance to win its 5th straight last year and tie Catholic Memorial's record run, and St. John's Prep denied them. So you know they're itching to get back. And you know that St. John's Prep is still feeling a little bit disrespected, because I think a lot of people kind of forgot over the season, hey, wait a minute, we're the defending champion here. And, you know, BC High got a lot of pub this year, and rightfully so.
Yep.
You know, Pope Francis got, you know, was up there. You know, MC. You know, was pretty much the top 2 or 3 team, and St. John's Prep kind of sat back in the weeds a little bit, and people were kind of forgetting about them a little bit, and you kind of sensed that they were thinking that towards the end of the season. It's like, hey, wait a minute, why is nobody talking about us? You know, we're the team that's on top this year, and they haven't lost since Malden Catholic beat them. I think on January 23rd was the last time.
Yep.
A 1-0 game.
1-0.
You know, so they're 11-0-1 since then, and you know, nothing fancy. You know, they've been, you know, getting the great play from 2 or 3 lines, and you know, solid goaltending when they need it from Kyle Martin, and then great defense, and it's going to be another good one.
Yeah, they are a senior-dominated team this
Yep.
year. Like they were a junior-dominated team last year. They had that one line of seniors, but Martin was a huge difference, and then a guy like Tyler Scarborough just picked it up, and
Right.
you know was the guy who said, "Go on my shoulders. I'm not going to score a lot of goals,
Yep.
but I'm going to lead the way."
And this year it's been Kyle Lynch, Kyle Hentosh, Danny Ties had a couple of really big
Danny
goals
Ties, the
in this
leading goal
tournament.
scorer.
Yep.
Guy like
Yep.
Newton
Yep.
anchors
Newton.
the second line. He's a
And-
very talented kid,
And then Seth
you know,
Murray and Usalis have kind of taken care of
yeah,
the defense.
Usalis missed
Yep.
a lot of the year, but he's
Yep.
back and healthy. And for Malden Catholic, it's a different year too.
Yep.
You know, gone and that Matt Philippe's not here to say, okay, we need a late goal from Witkowski or Philippe or the older Goldstein.
Yep.
Lawrence and McLean are gone from the back line. And, you know, they don't have those guys, but they've been a great team. You know,
Yep.
nobody expected a lot from them early, and
They're-
they've just grown as a team.
They're kind of back to the formula where they were 4 or 5 years ago when they were really first starting to get going. You know, building from their defense out. You know, Pat Harrington, probably the most talented overall player
Yep.
in the blue line for them. And you know, they've gotten really good scoring from their top line. The Wren, Botticelli,
Yes.
the Goldstein line has really turned it on for them in the tournament. You know, and then the secondary line with Collins and those guys. They've been
Go
yeah,
line.
Yeah, they've been playing great this tournament. So.
Their third line's played very well.
Oh yes, yeah.
So, you know, it's going to, I think that's going to be a tight to the vest. I'd be shocked if it's a 4-1 game.
Right.
You know.
I'm saying 2-1. You
yeah.
know.
Surprise.
You pull a name out of a hat. Now, I went with Malden Catholic in the paper just because it's so hard to go against them this time of year. And, maybe I'm playing right into the St. John's Prep, disrespect card by doing that.
I'll respect you for that.
And so be it, that's understandable because, I think people kind of were of the mindset that we picked Malden Catholic back when they were on their run until someone could beat them.
Right.
And nobody's beaten St. John's Prep since they won it last year. So, that's, more power to them.
Come take it from me.
It's perfectly understandable. And, I know you're a Prep guy, so, if you want to, I won't turn my back on you over here. So.
No worries, Clarky, no worries.
Go.
Well, we're going to call it a night here and let you take a little bit of a break before you have to go back to work, but we really appreciate your time always.
No problem. Anytime.
And it's great going back and forth, and it is a little sad when this day comes to an end, but there's a lot of rehash, and then there's lacrosse. And by the way, there's an all-star game next Saturday in Framingham, so girls and boys.
Yeah,
so.
The Shriners game is always a great take. They've done a great job adding the girls game the last couple of years. I know they had a really tough time selecting the team this year because they got so many nominations, and it was just
that's
really tough. But it is a good thing, because it means there's a lot of great talent out there, and people talk all the time about, high school hockey and, where all the great players. They're still out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's no shortage of great players out there. You watch the games today. This is still tremendous hockey.
It's a great day.
It really is. So,
Jim Clark in the slot. Thank you so much for your time and being with us here on My Hockey Live, and that's going to do it for the live show on the 9th floor. And good way to wrap it up, Clarky. Thanks, partner.
Good.
And I would be remiss if I didn't end this by saying thank you for a long season of support from Nantucket Nectars. From the book 16 by Dr. Peter Drennan. From Dynamic Sports in Reading. From Sullivan Tire and Auto Service. From the Worthwhile Life Foundation, an initiative of Mohawk Rubber Sales. From the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation, still looking for lifeguards for this summer. From Wamisett Lanes Family Entertainment Center in Tewksbury. From Integrated Benefits Group and Tony Maffio, congratulations to the Austin Prep girls today. To Arlington Coal and Lumber, locations in Arlington, Sudbury, Chelmsford, and Wilmington. And last but by no means least, SerioVideo.com and the NFHS Network. Thanks for everybody's support this year on My Hockey Live. We'll be back on the network with the next two games, the last two games of the night. Jake Levin has the Division I game along with Don Boyle, and I'll be back on with Don Boyle for the nightcap, Malden Catholic and St. John's Prep. To Mark Igo and everybody at My Hockey Live, thanks for being with us, folks. Stay tuned for more high school hockey.